everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Busted Knees and Pretty Trees podcast. This is Travis J. White, and we're going to keep it short today because we want to get back to this interview with Jonathan. Here we got Patrick and Bradley, of course.
Yep.
And Jonathan Cable.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Our Thru-Hiker that has been schooling us on everything that these long-ass trails bring your way.
The highest highs and the lowest lows.
Yeah, so if you didn't listen to the last episode, go ahead and do that because he told us a lot of really good stories about being on the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Coast Trail. Crest.
Common
God
mistake.
damn it, Brad.
Common mistake.
That's a highway.
Pacific
right?
Crest
The
Trail.
Pacific Coast Highway.
There we go.
Pacific Crest Trail.
That's where I
right.
got screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go back and listen to that. But today we're talking about gear. And I think we wanted to talk about kind of when you first started and your evolution of gear when you finally finished your Appalachian Trail.
Mm-hmm. So I think every thru-hiker, if they haven't thru-hiked before, if you're like going out for your first hike, you're going to tend to drop weight after usually your first week. And as you go along, you get out and you figure out what you need and what you don't need. And if you're going to carry any little luxury on a long hike, be it a chair, be it a stove, on a long hike, things that seem necessary for a short hike quickly become a luxury.
It's funny to think that a stove is a luxury.
I know, and a lot of people I talk to that, backpack regularly, they're like, are you cold soak?
How do you make coffee in the morning?
Exactly.
And
you
these stoves they make anymore are not that heavy. You just think, but when you're doing those,
you're still adding like maybe 9 ounces, or maybe it's 4.5 or 5 ounces plus now the weight of carrying propane or something like that. And it's the pounds,
It's actually
the ounces
quite a
add
bit
up.
more than that.
Yeah.
It's more like 12, 13 ounces.
The only reason I would carry a stove would be in winter hiking, and I carried a stove. I did a winter Pemi loop, and so that's in New Hampshire. It's the Pemi Jawasset Wilderness, and it's a loop around the Franconia Wilderness. You end up on Franconia Ridge, in New Hampshire. It's probably one of, if not the most scenic routes you can hike in the Northeast.
Oh,
it's
damn.
spectacular.
Somebody write that down?
Yeah.
You guys write that down?
I got it jotted down, baby.
Pemi Loop, it's a great 3 to 4 day hike. Or if you're looking to run, if you're like a marathon person.
No.
Which
like our previous guest, Brian.
It's a 35 miler. And there are people that certainly go out and do it in a day over, 13 to 16 hours.
Lord have mercy.
If you're just going to go run.
That's where it's funny because Patty's like, I see these reviews where these fucking people are running this trail in 2 days or 1 day.
That's just ain't
And
me,
we're like,
man.
well, we're scheduled 5 days over it.
Yeah, that's just ain't me. I like what I like. I like to be out there for a certain amount of time, and I like to really take my time and really absorb the environment that I'm in.
I'm with you, brother.
I gotta stop and smell the roses.
That's how we are.
Yeah.
Well,
which
and
is fine.
If you're winter hiking, you kind of have to. You can't. Like I was up there and there was like 4 to 6 feet of snow on the ground.
Oh, Lord.
And so I was actually snowshoeing like most of my way through this section.
Yeah.
So you can't be running, but it's a different kind of grueling, strenuous trip.
So when you're out there, one of the things that we talked about in one of our first episodes was our packs, right? So like, we kind of talked about this off air. Mm-hmm. What is your pack weight? Which I find to be
like
just
base
incredible.
weight, trail weight.
Yeah, your base weight, and what's your trail weight?
Right. If we're talking about base weight, I would call that the weight of everything that's going on my back, minus food,
right?
Minus water,
right?
So everything I'm carrying except for those things that you'll add on. I would say that in the summer it's going to be closer to 10 pounds. On the PCT,
That's so crazy.
on the
That's
PCT,
so crazy.
I was carrying 12 pounds in the warmer months, and I switched to probably about 13, maybe a little more than that, but probably pretty close to 13 in the winter.
So
with a 10-degree quilt.
when you started the AT, what would you say?
Yeah,
Your
right.
base weight?
When I started the Appalachian Trail in 2020, before I knew anything about through hiking, I probably had a 25-pound base weight. I had a lot of I had some extra layers I didn't need. I was carrying.
That's where we're at now.
Yeah, no, it's a good place to be for like weekends and to be like very comfortable, right? I had a 2-pound. My backpack was a Granite Gear backpack, which I still have and I love. It's very comfortable.
Oh, damn, you still have like your OG original.
Yeah, and I would use my Granite Gear on longer, heavier trips. If I was gonna go out for if I was gonna get into mountaineering, I bet my Granite Gear could handle
What
it.
size is that Granite Gear?
I think it's a 70-liter.
70-liter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so.
All right.
And it's like got a plastic frame in it that you can pull out. And it's got a really good padded hip belt. It's very comfortable and very adjustable, and you can put a lot of shit in it.
Nice.
But I also I was carrying a 2-person tent, a 2-person mountain hardware tent on the Appalachian Trail in 2020. And that was probably 3 pounds. And I had a full Teflon, what's it called? Ground sheet for it that I had cut out of, I think it's called Teflon. I can't think right now.
Just like a normal tarp.
Just like a tarp that you would cut for like in construction for a house type of thing. So that was probably 3 pounds. I had, a nighttime layer, like wool layer, and all like I don't know. Anyway, all things put together, without food, I was at 25 pounds when I started the Appalachian Trail. I think I cut that to 22 or 23 after the first week. But I stayed with that all the way through the Appalachian Trail. Wow. So I did the whole Appalachian Trail at 22 or 23 pounds base weight, and so that adding 2 to 3 pounds of food on top of that, and like I didn't know what I was doing at that point. By the end of it, I certainly did, but I was carrying a stove. I was heating all my water to hydrate food at on that trail.
I can see after a while, just like it's not really going to be that much better.
Here's the thing is I was hiking with a bunch of 25 and 26-year-olds, and they all had 10 or 12 pound base weights, and I was keeping up with them, but they just had so much more energy, and maybe they were just younger than me, but also maybe they had half the weight on their backs that I did. And so I finished the Appalachian Trail, and I was, once you start hiking, you're like, how can I make this easier? How can I go farther?
Yes.
Because it's hard. When you, 25, 30 pounds is a lot.
Yes.
To carry up a lot of elevation.
That's why gear advice is so hard to give, because it's like, well, what are you willing to sacrifice?
What are you willing to sacrifice?
What do you want to carry?
And how much money are you willing to spend? Because if you're willing to spend $500 or $600 on a Dyneema tent, you're going to save a lot of ounces.
Yeah.
If not a couple of pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
My tent now, so my setup now for the PCT was 12 pounds ish in the summer and maybe 13 pounds in the winter. So switching from a 30-degree quilt to a 10-degree quilt, adding a layer or two. Carrying a few extra things.
Key word there.
Quilt
Man.
Yeah, you're a quilt man.
I'm a fellow quilt man.
I love my quilts.
Although
I love the freedom to like put something between because I'm a side sleeper, so I put something between my knees to like keep my hips nice and separated.
Oh, yeah.
So I can sleep on my side.
Yeah.
And that quilt, like being in a sleeping bag, you feel so constricted, and it moves with you, but you can elastic the quilt around your sleeping pad, and so you just move around.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
You're preaching to the choir with me.
Yeah. Brad is he just switched to the quilt, so
I wish I could be a hammock guy. It just looks so nice.
Patty's a hammock guy,
and you can sleep anywhere. I've tried. I haven't tried to buy, like, I would have to buy a side sleeper hammock, but
All hammocks are side sleeper hammocks.
Brother.
In concept, it sounds like it would work so well.
Dude, I am a hammock guy. This is the first trip that I've ever gone on where I actually got a tent for it. I had to get two
And it was
tents.
a big deal.
And it was a big deal.
Like him moving to a
I mean,
tent.
you're talking about space, talking about the weight. A hammock is the size of a softball in your pack.
know.
It's gorgeous. And
you have me
it's,
convinced.
It's
I'm getting
10
a hammock.
times more comfortable than being in that tent. I mean, when
And you're a side sleeper?
I'm a side sleeper. Dude, I'm a fidgety sleeper, so I'm everywhere. But you can drape your leg over.
You've got to
You
tell
can
me
drape your arm over it.
What hammock?
Double nest Eno. There's a lot of other hammocks out on the market now. When I bought my hammock, Eno was that was it. Like, that's all I ever knew about. But I still rock it. I mean, it's been 15 years, and I take that thing everywhere.
Man, I can only imagine the advances that have happened since then that you don't
There
even
isn't.
know about.
It's just I don't think there is. I mean, I know now you can get like your hammocks that are built with like the bug net around it and the rain fly on it and all those different things. But to me, I want to buy all my pieces separately. Because I like to be in my hammock. I don't want it all. I don't want to have to climb into a cubby hole to sit in my hammock. Because some days it's the best when you're at your shelter or when you're at your little trail town and you could put that up between two trees and just sit in it and rock in it and take a nap in the middle of the day, while you're eating your food.
Totally.
It is the dude. Being on.
He loves this hammock.
I do.
I get it.
Well, we're talking gear too, and being on trail and then taking your body and your feet off of the ground.
Yeah, huge.
Is huge for a quarter of the weight and a quarter of the volume that you're taking up in your bag. It's tremendous.
Patty.
There are some places that you can't take it though. And that's where
Desert.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And
There are treats out there, but there will be nights when you'll be sleeping on the ground. But also, that's nice. If you have an air pad, it's really nice to cowboy camp.
I've been doing my fair share of cowboy camping as well, and I have to say so I was in Backpacker magazine about a year ago. There was a guy that wrote an article, and he was talking about how the same transition that I've been making he did it backwards. He went from tent to hammock, and then from hammock to now he only promotes cowboy camping. And he just it's like this evolution of the greatness of it.
It's next level just because like a tent really does give you this false sense of like shelter.
Yeah.
Until it rains.
Well, and there's ways to
you're
protect
still-
yourself too. There's bivy
Water's not
sacks
going to
and
get
there's other
inside. Like you don't have to worry about it.
things.
Yeah. You could cowboy camp and literally just carry a tiny little tarp to go over the top of you.
Yeah, that's right.
And you'd save a lot of. I mean, there are ultra lighters who will like 6 to 7 pounds is their base weight.
See, and once again, back to your guys' point, that's like the amount that you're willing to give up. Brad said it right. It's for me a couple episodes ago where he said something like, you carry less weight in order to be able to still have the amenities that he wants.
Like I drop my base weight as low as I can, like weight wise, so that I can bring other bullshit that I don't need. Like it just makes up, like I can carry more weight.
Yeah, like I do have a chair, but my chair only weighs a pound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That just sounds like
I know.
a lot of weight to me.
I know. I get it.
Difference for through hiking.
But
Yes.
like if you're doing a 40-mile section hike,
A chair might be worth it.
Yeah. You can endure that if your knees are good.
It all goes back to, because when people ask for advice, it's kind of hard to give because it depends what you like.
There's a ton of things you can put in your pack.
Yeah.
Like if you were a beginning, or if you were to give advice to a first-time hiker, or not necessarily through hiking, you should work your way up to that. But what kind of gear do
Maybe
you
not.
think?
Shit.
I would say figure out what you need for a weekend and go out and do it. You know,
See if you like it.
Yeah.
And then what kind of just basic gear would you
your basic
go with?
gear. You know, you're gonna need a shelter, somewhere to sleep. What are you going to sleep on? Is it going to be a sleeping bag, a quilt? Are you going to have a sleeping pad? Are you going to just do foam?
Do you mess with like trekking pole tent versus like a?
I rock a tarps tent. My tent since I forget when I bought it. It was after I hiked the Appalachian Trail, but I bought a tarps tent Aeon Lee. It's not 18 ounces. It's 17.6 ounces. It's Dyneema. I have loved it. I'm 6'4". I can sleep. I can stretch all the way out in it, and my toes will just barely touch, but I sleep on my side, so I curl up. So I don't get if it's icy inside, I don't get, or wet, and like if there's condensation, my sleeping bag doesn't touch the inside of the tent. But it is a little bit like climbing into like your little space. Like I can sit up in it just in the middle. But it's small. It's a 1-person tent.
Yeah.
It's like the most popular tent on the PCT is probably the tarps tent or the Z packs. The Z packs.
Oh, yeah.
People love the Z packs, both their backpacks and their tents. They're so light. I have this from doing the PCT this year. I did a PCT survey that they send out. This guy at halfwayanywhere.com.
I've heard that name.
He's got a website, and he does a PCT survey, and he publishes it. He says that from his survey of PCT hikers this year, their average pre-hike base weight was 18.3 ounces.
Wow.
Males were 16. No, wait.
18.3 ounces?
18.3 pounds.
Oh my God.
18.3 pounds.
I was shitting
18.3 pounds was the average pre-hike base weight. That's what they started with.
Okay.
And at the end of their hike, their base weight was 15.9 pounds. So over the course of their hike, they dropped more than 2 pounds.
I'm impressed that many. The average is 18. That seems pretty low. Like
that seems high to me. I would have thought for a thru-hiker it would be lower.
But I would think like it would be a bigger variance between the two. Like you start with 25, end with 12 or something.
Yeah.
Like 18. Because I mean, maybe I say that because I'm like at 21. So
Yeah. We've all probably been carrying way too much
I was
weight.
proud of that. 21.
Yeah.
Well, 21's not bad.
But I also have a
honestly.
2-person tent still. So
Yeah. And
like I have the copper spur.
Okay.
You will too.
Yeah.
You know.
All my shit's too heavy.
no
I can
big
tell you
deal.
that.
Yeah, Travis bought his stuff in 95. And just until that shit
I have to change though because my body's starting to fail me.
yeah. Until it gets up and walks away from him, he will not get rid of it.
Well, and here's something to illustrate the value of cutting ounces and pounds is at the end of the Appalachian Trail, I was a mess. Like I needed probably like 6 full months to recover.
Damn.
I dropped maybe 10 or 15 pounds, but I just lost. There was so much weight in my legs, and I had dropped weight from my shoulders, like just anything that wasn't being used every day.
Yeah.
It's like atrophied.
When I finished the Pacific Crest Trail, I had actually put weight on.
Oh, nice.
Because for the PCT, for the Appalachian Trail, I ended my hike probably at a 23-pound base weight. And I was, almost half that for the PCT. So like it just didn't, it was less elevation. It was easier, but also it was just easier on my body.
Yeah, you weren't burning as many calories carrying all that weight around.
I think, I was doing bigger miles. I was doing 30 miles a day, 31, 32 a day on the PCT. So I was doing a lot of hours and a lot of hiking still a lot of calories, but it just wasn't as hard on my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like, at least from what I could tell, the PCT doesn't have as many shelters throughout.
It really doesn't.
So like you're relying on your tent.
You
and,
have
like,
to
your
have a
camp
shelter
setup.
of some kind. Yeah.
So it's surprising that you were able to drop your weight that much. Like you definitely had to make some sacrifices.
Well, I had hiked a lot before, like between the Appalachian Trail and the PCT. So like I had kind of been testing this setup as I went along. So I knew what I was doing, even though I didn't spend much more than a week or two planning the PCT. I had my setup. I knew what I was doing. So I like just got out there and I did it. And I mean, if anything, I added weight to my setup from when I started, because when I started the PCT, I had my summer setup. I was in Oregon and Washington in August and early September. And so I knew the temps were going to be good, except for a couple of days when it was rainy and 33 degrees. It was really miserable.
I think rainy and cold.
It's the worst. I would rather it be colder and snowing.
Yeah,
any
for
day.
sure.
But then when I dropped back down to California, I changed to a 10-degree quilt, and fucking enlightened equipment. Yeah, I do down. I like for my quilt to be down, because I know that at some point, at least if I'm hiking out west, I know at some point in the day it'll dry, even if I,
Because it's so arid.
It's so arid. It's so dry.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah, I know we mentioned this earlier, or maybe on last week's at this point podcast, but like the difference between the Appalachian Trail, or one big difference between the AT, the East Coast, and the West Coast, the PCT, is how dry the PCT is. Just every day it's sunny, and you're on the Appalachian Trail, you're almost every day in a green tunnel. You're under trees. Nothing ever dries. It's so humid.
Yeah.
It rains a lot. Not the year I was out there. It was a drought, but like it's still humid every day. It's crazy that just every day you're sweating. And on the PCT, you stop for 10 minutes and you're totally dry again. Yeah. Everything is dry.
Yeah.
You stop for lunch and you take anything that had a little bit of condensation on it last night, which is rare, but it dries in like 2 minutes.
Oh, there's a big difference between, doing any sort of physical activity when it's humid out, and when, even if it's a dry heat, that's better than a humid heat. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But, we're coming to realize that weight is a huge factor, especially, it's got a direct correlation with distance.
If you want to, the farther you want to go, you are much more incentivized to drop weight.
Yeah.
And to give up luxury for that.
Yeah, but that's the question I have for you is there anything that you just will always take with you no matter how much weight you're trying to drop?
Yeah, what's your cheat code? Your guilty pleasure, dude. Do you have one? Or is this just like, as a thru hiker, you refuse yourself of any guilty pleasure?
Or if you were going to go do 40 to 60 miles on a weekend backpacking trip.
Like, I still carry a shovel, and I have a friend from the AT that's like, why would you carry a shovel? There are rocks that you can use to dig your hole, Like, I'll carry a shovel. It's like 1 ounce.
Damn.
Like I'm not cutting ounces at that level.
Yeah, what's crazy is I refuse to carry a shovel.
That's not at all what I was expecting you to say.
A shovel.
Yeah.
Like, I'll
That's
have a
pretty
camp
crazy.
chair, but I won't have a shovel.
Yeah.
No, I'm not interested in carrying a camp chair, because I've sat on the ground and rehydrated my cold food enough times that I know I can do that. I can lean back on a tree and be comfortable.
I'm kind of the same way with that. I don't want to bring a chair. I do enjoy sitting in theirs when they're not in them, but I'm okay with leaning up against a tree.
I also don't carry camp shoes.
Yeah. Okay.
I will take off the socks that I've worn all day and the liners of the shoes, and I will set them out to dry, and I'll just like walk around in my bare feet in my shoes to like give my feet a break.
Yeah.
If it's sandy, or if it's like I'm not worried about the terrain, I'll just walk around in bare feet.
I can see that. I can definitely see
camp
that.
shoes. Camp shoes are, you're cutting 1.5 pounds maybe or more, if you don't want to carry camp shoes.
Yeah.
And for fording,
It is a luxury.
fording creeks, rivers, whatever. Like some people carry like water shoes that double as
Yeah.
camp shoes. There's no reason. Just walk through it. Like don't wear runners. Don't bring Gore-Tex. We talked about that, I think, off mic. But for a thru hike, I would never wear Gore-Tex, because your feet are always going to get wet. Whether you're sweating in them, whether it's raining, whether it's snowing, whatever's happening, you're on a thru hike, your feet are going to get wet. And so there's no reason to wear Gore-Tex. If you're on a day hike and you're just looking for comfort, like I get it. Like
Yeah.
there's a strong market for Gore-Tex, and like in winter hikes, winter hikes, Gore-Tex, keeping your feet dry is important.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to find boots that are not Gore-Tex or shoes that are not Gore-Tex. Like a lot of like REI's shoes are all Gore-Tex.
Yeah, yeah. I love REI, but for I think the vast bulk of my gear, as I've gotten more specific, like I can't even find it at REI. Like there are a lot of garage, cottage companies.
I've noticed
that are making incredible gear. That are just selling it themselves.
Yeah, you just go straight to the supplier themselves.
Yeah.
I agree. I've also noticed that. The more you kind of dive into something and try to refine what you're buying, the more you find yourself on actual websites or from that maker, from that supplier.
And I think if you start with the basics and you're into it, you're eventually going to start going down those rabbit holes of how can I make this easier? What do I want to keep? What can I get rid of? And,
well, you start making spreadsheets. You start making spreadsheets of like, what is the weight of my backpack right now?
Yeah.
Like you could have an ultralight backpack, like buy from the company Ultralight. And it's like the most popular, hold on, let me pull it up. The most popular backpack on the PCT this year. Well, it was the Z-Plex. Oh, no, these are shelters. Sorry. It was the ultralight circuit, the most common PCT backpacks. This is from halfwayanywhere.com. It's the ultralight circuit. Oh, and I don't know if I have Wi-Fi down here, but I looked it up earlier, so I can tell you the ultralight. Oh, here it comes. The ultralight circuit is 38.5 ounces.
Damn.
So that's
What size pack is that?
Hold please. I know the average pack on the PCT was 55 liters. This
38 ounce, 55 liters.
This is a 68 liter pack that is 38.5 ounces. So
38.5 ounces.
It's really heavy.
Backpack for like yours, Brad, your Osprey.
The Osprey is going to be heavier.
I'm not. Yeah. Like
Just for reference.
What is it? The Osprey what?
At most 65.
I got you. Hold on.
Mild guess.
It's also on this list.
Yeah, like that's normally the one that the beginners start a through hike with because that's what all the reviews say to you.
Oh, and then you get rid of it and get something lighter halfway down.
Well, it's going to have...
It's a great section hiker pack.
Yeah. It's going to be very comfortable, the Osprey Atmos. The Exos is on this list.
Because it has a frame, like the ones he's talking about are frameless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
like
my
a sack with straps.
I started the PCT with a Granite Gear Verga 2, which is very thin. It's I think like 20 ounces, like the pack itself. It's frameless. And it's I think it's a 55 liter. And at PCT days, I switched. I really liked this Nashville. There's a company called Nashville something or other that makes a really great backpack. And it's $400, but it's gonna be one of the most sought after backpacks for a while. It's so customizable. It's got this new fabric tech that people are really gonna like. And I put it on. I was like, wow, this is incredibly customizable for everybody.
Are you getting paid for this?
I'm not. No, I should be. But I tried it on. I was like, man, I really want this.
We take 10% of the
No,
top.
it's like one of our listeners sent us a link to I wish I could remember the name of the place, but it's in the UP in Michigan, and you go to their website and they make a lot of accessories for backpacking, like the bottle holder on your shoulder strap.
Cool.
But they'll make like custom bespoke to you backpacks. And they're like $400-$500.
That's basically what this Nashville thing is doing.
Tailored
They're like,
backpacks.
Yeah.
they're like different sized straps, different sized belts. Like you can custom order each little piece and each like how big the pack is. So it just feels so good. But I ended up with a Gossamer Gear Fast Kumo at Trail Days on the PCT, and it was a 36 liter. And I always felt like the Granite Gear Verga 2 was not quite fitting my body right. Like it like rode up a little on my hips, and it just, I mean, I was carrying so little weight for what a 55 liter pack is designed for, and what that size of pack is designed for. But with a frameless pack, you still don't want to put much more than 20 or 25 pounds in it. But it was a pack that like felt better, heavier.
Yeah.
The Verga 2. And then I got this Gossamer gear, and all of my stuff fit in it. And all of the reps that were there for PCT days, they let me walk around at PCT days with their like floor version. What's it called? Floor model of the Fast Kumo. And I walked over to the Bear Vault booth, and I stole their BV 500.
Yeah.
And I put it in it with all of my stuff, because I knew I would have to carry, if I was going to switch to this Gossamer gear, I would have to carry all of my gear with a Bear Vault, with a bear canister in it through Yosemite. So I wanted to make sure it fit, and it did. It wasn't as comfortable with the Bear Vault in it, but it's the Gossamer gear. Fast Kumo is a really great pack to look at. All of Z-Pack stuff, I mean, if you're trying to cut weight, setting up your gear is as personal as anything is.
Yeah.
As buying your car is. It's like, what is your mission?
Yeah.
What are you here to accomplish? Are you trying to push big miles? Are you trying to set a record and do 50 miles a day for like 45 days, or are you trying to go out and enjoy yourself?
Like, I'm going to start bringing binoculars. That's a pound.
People love the birdwatch.
10 ounces.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to be bringing
That's
and
luxury
cutting
for sure.
somewhere
Yep.
else.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the more weight you're looking to carry, a slightly heavier backpack is going to be much more valuable, because you're going to want that comfort of what, a better straps and better padding is going to provide.
Yeah, for reference, the Osprey Atmos 65 is 4 pounds, 10 ounces.
Shit.
Wow.
Holy God.
Wow.
That's like almost 40% of your base weight.
4 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was for some contrast there. Like
Yeah, we should have known that.
yeah, for sure.
That's good to know. So I kind of want to switch, just keep going with this. So we've talked about tents, we've talked about packs. So I want to get into the clothes. Clothes are a big deal. We talk about clothes on this podcast often. We're a podcast that's made for guys that are our age, that haven't been out there, that we're trying to get out there. Just go experience the outdoors in however way you possibly can.
Or gals.
So, what or gals, for sure, absolutely. So when you're talking about this kind of weight, because I do have to say, like, a lot of space in my pack is taken up because of the clothes. Like, what's your go-to? Like, run us through your go-to clothes for.
Well, I guess my first question is what clothes are you bringing that they take up most of the space in your pack?
I'll bring.
When he said that, I was also kind of like, what?
Well, because I'll bring a puffer. Do you take a puffer?
A puffy, yeah.
A puffy.
Yeah.
I do take wool base layers. Like I take what are they? Cotopaxi base layers. Do you wool base layers?
Yep.
An extra pair of socks, generally thicker socks for at night. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually carry like 2 or 3 pair of socks.
Yeah, I'll take 3 pairs of socks.
I feel like that's the most important.
2
Like fresh socks.
2 pairs of pants or 2 pairs of shorts, depending on the season. No?
Why 2?
I don't know. Just because I don't know. That's a great question. so that's where I could limit something.
I'm only wearing the shorts I'm wearing, or the pants I'm wearing. I'm not taking anything extra.
The whole time,
Yeah, no.
even on the AT.
no undies.
No. What? Oh, you're talking about underwear?
No. I'm not talking about undies. I'm talking about
pants?
shorts.
No,
I'm talking
shorts.
about
No, I'm
shorts or pants.
No, I'm only wearing what aside
take
from
one of each?
Aside from the wool base layer that I'm going to sleep at night.
Yeah.
I'm only carrying what I'm wearing at night.
Even
or we're
I-
wearing during the day.
Yeah.
Even I 1 pair of pants, 1 pair of shorts, like for days.
Do you take 1 pair of pants, 1 pair of shorts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. One of either.
Yeah.
depending on-
I don't bring
depending on
both.
where you're at.
Yeah.
If
okay,
it's summer, I'm no, I'm not carrying an extra pair of pants.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What about top layers? Because I always have a
No, so
sun
for the
hoodie.
yeah, I'm only wearing what I'm wearing. I'm wearing what I'm wearing during the day, and I'm carrying a long underwear and a wool top for the
Okay.
night. I'm not. There's nothing extra that I'm carrying.
Okay, so then generally I bring like double the amount
Yeah.
that you're bringing.
Yeah,
is
you
what I would be.
You don't need all that.
Same here.
Yeah.
Just go be dirty and smelly
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a couple of days.
What if you want to get a fresh look? I want to go from
You trying to impress somebody?
seafoam green to aqua blue shirt.
Oh yeah. Gotta look good.
No,
on
that's
it out there.
interesting. Okay,
I wore the same. I wore the same sun hoodie for the whole Pacific Crest Trail.
what's the sun hoodie?
The REI.
REI.
I like the
The
REI
Sahara.
sun hoodie.
All right.
The Sahara.
That's
yeah.
what he rocks.
That's what I have.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. But I did add. What did I end up carrying with it? When it got colder, the sun hoodie wasn't quite enough during the day, and I added a couple of extra layers. I didn't need to be carrying all of it, but there were a couple of nights that I was glad that I had all of it. I added a soft shell. So like some kind of rain jacket, like some kind of hard shell.
Yep.
For a frog tog or like something that is a hard barrier between water.
Yep.
Is an important. You have to have it. Just for the top half though. For the bottom half, I carry an Enlighten Equipment Torrid rain pant that is like probably 2 ounces.
Yeah.
Just as a wind barrier because. As it turns out, wind is a variable that is unexpectedly, insidious.
Yeah.
Brutal.
At the end of a day of just constant 20 or 30 mile an hour winds, like it's almost hard to fall asleep. You're so bone chilled.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy how light a pair of frog dogs are, like a top and bottom.
It's amazing.
They're
Yeah.
It's
It's just
Science.
the lightest tent material,
Yeah.
just like woven into a pair of pants and a
Any
jacket.
headgear?
Well, no, actually, because the rain jacket that I carry is an Arc'teryx, and it's got a hood on it. The puffy I carry is the Montbell Plasma Down 1000. It's super light, and it also has a
You
hood.
do have
a hood on it.
spreadsheets. I can tell by the way
I
you
do.
describe it.
Yeah, I do. I made a spreadsheet when I was getting ready to hike up north in the Northeast after I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and I was like, how can I cut these ounces? I've got to figure out how to get down from 23 to 10 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, the more you get obsessed with how far can I go, or how can I make this more comfortable for myself? How can I make this a more repeatable endeavor? Especially the older we get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling my age more these days.
Yeah.
I understand that.
It's, like if I'm going to go and hike the CDT, I don't want to have more than 12 ounces in on my back if I'm going to be 65 or 70, if I'm not going to do this until I'm retired, which
Right.
I would love. Like I see these guys out there and they're doing it.
yeah.
There are a bunch of old people.
Oh
Put
yeah.
me to shame, I feel like.
That's what I keep telling myself. Like I want to do a through hike someday.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell myself. There's older people doing it
Yep.
every year, and I'll be able to do it eventually.
Yeah, Brad. I like that attitude.
Yeah. I like that attitude too, Brad.
Thank you.
You get it, boy.
Hell yeah.
You get it, King.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Surely you're gonna do it.
Don't call me Shirley.
Well, we talked about clothes. What kind of food do you pack with you when you're out there?
Yeah. Let's dive a little bit into that aspect. I'm curious. I have recently gotten an MSR Pocket Rocket 2. These dudes are still rocking the jet boils. You
just shit on us.
I own a Pocket Rocket too.
Yeah?
I hiked the Appalachian Trail with the Pocket Rocket too.
I'm pretty psyched about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Big fan.
I was thinking about getting a kettle. I was looking up the Sea to Summit collapsible kettles just to save up a little bit of that extra
You just
room.
got ounces stacking up in your head.
Yeah. Well, so do I.
But
Which from a jet
also-
boil, that's moving down.
it's different missions too. So
That's true.
So I'm curious as to like, as a thru hiker, and we've talked about this, I think, on off air, and you've kind of alluded to it. But what's going on with your food setup, man?
My food setup is a spork, like a titanium spork, and a Talenti, pint jar.
Yep.
So nothing titanium other than the spork, and no stove. I'm cold soaking everything, and I've got, for a thru hike, I've got a pretty good. I mean, thru hiking really depends. Your food depends on the towns that you go through and what is available to you.
Yeah.
Basically. But I've got a pretty good 3-day rotation of meals that I like to do. And that is Hiker Thanksgiving, which is instant potatoes with a packet of chicken and a packet of like gravy.
Oh.
Mix that all together with like with water in the Talenti.
Get it.
It's
And cold soaking.
It's cold soaking.
Explain cold soaking.
So cold soaking is you're looking for foods that hydrate without heat.
Yeah.
You don't have to add heat. It just be cold water, and that's instant potatoes. Instant potatoes hydrate almost instantaneously. You have to stir it a bit, and maybe it's a little better if you pour it in and let it soak while you're putting your tent together or something when you get to camp. And it's built around saving time and saving ounces, because when you get to camp at the end of a 35 or 40 mile day and you don't want to, cook, you already have something cold soaking from when you took a break 2 hours before, and it's ready for you or something like that.
That's where I'm at. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think you'd be a good
becomes
cold soaker.
chore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cooking
I
is a
still
chore.
Why? I still like the warm water though. I don't know if I can get rid of that.
No, I definitely dig that.
Yep.
Cold soaking.
So cold soaking, yeah, it's just get rid of the stove, and you're just letting, if it's pasta, pasta can soak for a half hour, maybe an hour if you want, while you're hiking, and by the time you get to where you're going, it's ready for you. And ramen, still cold soakable, half hour to an hour. It can just sit in that jar, and it's ready for you when you get to where you're camping.
Dang.
Yeah. It's just you're eating it cold instead of warm.
Yeah.
Which is an adjustment, I guess, for some, but it still tastes the same. It's just not hot.
Yeah.
Did you start the Appalachian Trail that way?
No, I hiked the whole Appalachian Trail with the Pocket Rocket,
Okay.
the Pocket Rocket 2 that he has.
What did you use with the pocket rocket?
I think I had some kind of titanium bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking up a lot of titanium. It seems like all those little
Something I got
pots
at
and
REI.
something. Yeah, they are all. A lot of them are titanium.
Yeah.
That. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the collapsible pot with the Sea to Summit, from the Sea to Summit?
I mean, I can almost picture it. Yeah.
Dude, it's this new. I think it's kind of newer technology, but I don't know how new. But it's got my goat right now, dude. The idea that to get rid of the jet boil. Which I've rocked the jet boil for a long ass time, and I will never talk shit of it. But that pocket rocket, man, it's awesome. Yeah. He had something that was kind of an equivalent to the pocket rocket, and I just thought how neat that he was just what I thought he was doing was setting his cup right on top of that pocket rocket,
just a little more versatile.
The jet boil,
yeah,
Mighty Mo,
and a little lighter weight.
Yeah,
but the Pocket Rocket has the igniter switch too.
The deluxe.
Yeah,
yes.
you don't have to light a match next to it, which is really nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. I'm pretty psyched for it, dude.
Yeah.
That and a kettle on top. I was talking to them that I think it'd be kind of interesting to do more soups, dehydrate my own soups before I go.
Walmart has yeah, I have not gotten into dehydrating my own food.
Well,
I think that would be a fun way to go. And if I was going to go to the CDT eventually,
yeah,
I think you almost have to pack and send your own food.
Yeah.
So whether you're dehydrating your own food or the way I did the PCT was, as you go into town, finding your own or sending it to yourself. On the PCT is much more logistical plan.
Yeah.
You have to up north, Oregon, Washington. You have to mail yourself a couple of resupply packages to towns that are hard to get to or almost impossible. Like Thru-Hiker, there's just a ferry that goes there, so you almost have to ship yourself something there, or you're spending an exorbitant amount of money on food supplies.
Right.
Which I was just lucky that I got to go to Thru-Hiker because there was a huge fire there this year. It's getting really scary out west, as we've seen.
Yes, it is
recently. I was really lucky that I hiked the entire Pacific Crest Trail except for 85 miles from Crater Lake, Oregon to oh no, I just forgot the name of the lake. There's a lake 85 miles north of, it'll come to me later. But north I had to skip around from Crater Lake up to Shelter Cove. And then down south I had to skip around Wrightwood, which was I forget the name of the fire, but it was about 20 miles there that I had to skip around.
Yikes.
So, but that's a pretty good, and for each of those, well, not for Shelter Cove, for some of the fires, people were hiking detours around it. So you maintain a footpath basically.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just like, here's 85 miles that I just skipped on through hike.
You can never say I
completed. Right. And it's can I say that I hiked the whole Pacific Crest Trail even though I skipped from I skipped 85 miles. Like my footprint, the miles that I hiked.
Did you take an automobile?
I did.
Because that would hurt.
I know.
Yeah, but there's no other option.
The only other option was to take side like streets, like highways, but people were just like walking down the highways.
Yeah.
And so you maintain a
What good is that?
And I did that in other sections once I got out there and I figured out what I was doing. Or you walk down a forest road around it, which I did around Wrightwood, but how many miles are you allowed to skip and say you hiked the whole thing? There's a purist in me that says I have to at some point go back and hike Crater Lake to Shelter Cove to say I've hiked the whole thing.
I think there's something in all of us where it'd be like, if I missed 1 mile of that son of a bitch, I'm not really going to count it.
The Appalachian Trail I hiked every inch of.
Hell yeah.
Every inch of it.
Yeah, that is
suck it.
an achievement for sure.
That is an achievement for sure.
Yeah, but we were talking about your food, like every day. What would be a typical day, like meal plan for that day?
So let me finish the 3 meals. I've got hiker Thanksgiving. I do the potatoes with chicken. I've got couscous and salmon. And I carry usually like a small little thing of olive oil and I'll do like a packet of mayonnaise in the couscous and salmon. And that's a really filling and calorie rich meal with good protein and fat. Really try to get a lot of fats when you're hiking. And then my other meal is like a pad thai, like hiker pad thai, where I try to do ramen and a packet of chicken and some olive oil, and I'll even throw mayo in there. I don't care. Like just mayo packet is like extra calories.
Yeah.
And maybe some nuts if I'm feeling crazy, or like a packet of hot sauce if you want to spice it up. But
hot sauce.
And some maybe if you have a packet of peanut butter that you happen to find at a Walmart or something, that can be good. But then like soups, like Walmart is doing these. I found these soup packets that can be really good. Also, I've found that cornbread, like the cornbread stuffing with a packet of chicken, is a really good trail meal. Really, really tasty.
Stuffing.
Yeah, that does sound good.
Like on the West Coast, they had this grocery outlet store, or you could probably find stuffing anywhere, like any Kroger or whatever. But yeah, that hydrates cold. It's got a lot of salt. Like I want to get a lot of salt to replace at the end of the day. During the day, I want sugar and fats, because fats, you want your body to be metabolizing fats. That's the best way, I think, to get, from what I've read, the best way to get calories cycling in your body. Sugar, like 30 minutes or whatever before, like in the middle of your hike, is a good thing to get. Breakfasts, I like oatmeal with like a protein pack, or like something you can sprinkle in there with the protein that can be really good to cold soak, or just granola bars, like a good like oatmeal bar, breakfast bar of some kind. Two or three of those will get you going in the morning. It just depends on how many calories you're trying to get.
Yeah.
I'll do that for breakfast. I'll do like a bar or a bunch of like really fatty nuts like macadamias, pecans. Love peanut M&Ms as like a special treat during the day.
I love peanut.
Love a peanut M&M. But I mean, on a through hike, you get used to eating like the same thing every day for like 5 or 6 days, because you're gonna try to buy it in bulk and spread it out.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me to my next question, to our next question.
Yeah.
Is there a guilty pleasure food that you always bring with you?
A 70 or 85% dark chocolate bar at the end.
Yeah?
Like
Hell
at the
yeah,
end of the
dude.
day is
He brings that too.
Yeah.
Also Swedish fish, like, or some kind of gummy like Welch's fruit snacks, or like
Yeah.
if I really
Ooh,
feel like
that would be good.
if I feel like carrying some extra weight, I'll do that. I'll do some Fritos or corn chips or something like that.
Yeah.
Reminds me, I got some high cheese right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey.
All right.
Those will be gone soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, we've talked about the foods. We've talked about experiences in the last podcast. We've talked about clothes. We've talked about gear. I guess for this last little section that we have left with you, Jonathan, I want to hear some crazy fucking shit.
Or like a good way for our Halloween episode.
Yeah.
We did terrifying tales of terror
yeah.
from the trail.
Yes, we
Like,
did.
Yeah,
crazy
what's where
stories.
you really had some fear.
Yeah, everybody. I just think that everybody that's gone out there, you're out there in the middle of nowhere.
You're gonna see some crazy
it's,
shit.
It's black when you leave your tent or outside of your headlamp. It goes from headlamp white to black, and I wonder, like, give us some crazy stories from a through hiker.
I think I've got 3 that I can think of. When I was up in Oregon, no, maybe it was Washington. I think it was Washington. We had a couple of days in a row that dropped into, this was late August, early September. So it's, summer basically.
Yeah.
But it dropped at elevation into the 30s, and it was just like drizzly, rainy all day. And it's just the worst conditions to hike in. And I don't know, at the end of 2 days of that, my hands were frozen. They felt terrible. I couldn't feel anything. And, so there's that aspect of hiking that's definitely not fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then the end of those 2 days, I ended up at a shelter that's run by a bunch of snowmobilers. And as I turned the corner looking and I saw the shelter, there was smoke coming out of it. I was like, there's a fire. Someone's there.
Yeah.
And so I walked into this shelter, and it was warm, and everyone that was there had their shit hanging and drying. And it was just like the instant hope of,
Oh, man.
I'm going to be warm tonight, and I'm going to put on warm, dry clothes tomorrow. It was
Lord.
so joyful.
Man, that even just hearing that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
I can definitely picture that.
And that's kind of the aspect of getting out there like that, is you're kind of putting yourself in that position, but goddamn, does it feel good when you get yourself out of it?
Yeah. You're not really in control of what's thrown at you.
Yeah.
And you're just responsible for figuring out what you're capable of pushing through, and how to find a situation that is, or keep yourself safe, basically.
Yeah.
That self-sufficiency thing, that overcoming the obstacles.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying when you do get through it.
The one I can obviously lean into is on the Appalachian Trail. I got to the whole hike of the Appalachian Trail. I kind of didn't know if I was going to make it through the whole hike, because I started late. I started August 6th. And that's pretty late. If you're hiking southbound on the Appalachian Trail, you usually want to be done by, mid to late November, because they'll start to get snow up in the Smokies, at that time or soon after. So starting in August, never having thru-hiked ever in my life before, I was like, well, we'll see how far I get. We'll see how fast I can be. But if I am able to finish the whole Appalachian Trail, it'll be hopefully because I have gotten through the Smokies before they get their first snowfall.
Would you say you were trailing behind kind of like the majority of people doing southbound?
Yeah, I was there were, I mean, I had some friends in the neighborhood of like where I was at, and like I was hiking around people. So there were people that were trying to get through there, but there were very few of us.
We always joke Patty would be leading the northern bubble. Like he'd be the guy out in front, like
you would be the mayor of the Appalachian Trail, Pat, if you were out there. You would love it. It would be so fun.
I love the idea of hiking with people.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's not.
And we're like, we'll make sure I'll make sure I'm 20 miles ahead of the Bobo, 30 miles ahead.
I feel like there would be a fucking
times.
band like coming out and hiking with them if Patrick was the mayor.
He'd have a staff. Like,
I think it's fun. I enjoy people,
and it is. Yeah. It is so fun. But it's harder to accomplish your goals.
Yeah.
I find, because if I go out, I'm like, I have set a number of days or something that like, I have 4 months and I want to get through this or something like that. Because that's part of it for me. It's like, and it's probably the part of it that I should let go. And if I'm going to go back and do the CDT as an older man in 20 or 25 years, or we'll see when it happens, but it would be fun to just go out and have a time and not have the pressure of I'm going to do this in 120 days or something like that. But that was my story on the Appalachian Trail. I was like, if I'm going to get through this, I've got to move as quickly as I can because winter is coming. Winter is coming,
man.
And wouldn't you know it, I got to the Smokies, and as I was climbing up into the Smokies, I knew that a winter storm was coming like a day and a half into my traverse of the Smokies. It's like 75 miles to get from point A to point B to Fordham Dam, and I'm forgetting the name of the hostel. But anyway, it's a hostel that's there in the valley, and you climb up, and then you're in the Smokies, and you've got 75 miles or so to get through them to get to Fordham Dam.
It's kind of like the point of no return.
Fontana Dam. Sorry, what did you say?
It's kind of like the point of no return. Once you leave that hostel, you're going.
And there's one big pass up there where you can go down to a town that I'm forgetting now because it's been 5 years. But it's I think it's the name of a G. The letter starts with a G or something like that.
Gallenberg?
Yeah, that's it. And there's a pass, like kind of midway in your traverse of it, and then you go over Klingman's Dome, and then you're down in Fontana Dam.
That's actually where almost kind of my interest peaked in hiking was Gallenberg.
Yeah,
you can get right on the AT.
Yeah,
like with it. Pretty close to that little town.
Oh, and the Smokies are fantastic. I would love to go back.
So what happened when you got up there and now you're in the middle of a snowstorm?
Now I'm in the middle of a snowstorm.
Oh, so you just went ahead
I went ahead, and like there were friends around me that were like, they were behind me, and I was like, I'm going to get up and just try to beat it. And so I hiked up. I slept in this fire tower. I hiked one more night, and then that night, it was starting. So like I woke up the next morning and there was like snow falling, but not enough that it was keeping me from going anywhere. So I hiked that whole next day. I did, 22 miles or something like that. I went over Klingman's Dome. And so I've got like maybe 15 miles.
That's the highest point on the AT, right?
Klingman's Dome is, it's the highest point on the AT.
Yeah.
I got over Klingman's Dome and I had maybe, 15 or 20 miles to go to get down to Fontana Dam the next day, but all like a foot or more of snow fell overnight.
Damn.
And the temperatures the temperatures dropped below 10 degrees, and I had a 30-degree sleeping bag at
Like
that
that's
point.
rare too, right? For that area. Because I know
it was early.
Shit,
it was early. It was like the first couple days of December, and so I should have been more prepared. But I just had a little bit of an ego about like I've come this far. I think I can get through it.
Yeah.
And I also had a 15-degree or a 10. I think I had a 10-degree sleeping bag liner that was supposed to bring me a little more warmth. And I mean, I survived. I would lay there and try to fall asleep, and I would wake up shivering. And so I'd do push-ups two nights in a row. Basically, I just kind of shivered my way through the night. And at one point, I called. I had like 1 bar of service, and I called the national park ranger service, and I just reported my location because no one else knew where I was at that point. And I just wanted them to know where I was, and they were like, "Oh, it's really cold." And I said, "I know, I'm very cold, but I think I'm okay. I'm not calling for a rescue at this point.
I'm doing push-ups.
I think I didn't want to inconvenience anyone.
You'll know where to find my corpse.
Right.
That's really what you were saying.
In case no one hears from me for a couple of days, I wanted there to be a record of where I was.
Like, it's too bad you can't just come out and say that. Like, if I die, I'm just telling you this is where I am.
But two mornings in a row, at this point, I was wearing boots that were waterproof because I knew I was heading into winter terrain, and they froze overnight because it was so cold. Even in the Smoky Mountain, the National Park shelters that they have up there, they have really nice shelters.
Yeah, they do.
Really nice. Couldn't start a fire in them because all of the wood was soaked, or I don't have the skills to, to start fires in the winter. But I 2 mornings in a row, I put my feet in frozen boots, and
man,
it was at the end of this, when I got down to Fontana Dam, my feet felt frozen, and indeed, I had numb spots in both my feet for like probably a year after that.
Dang.
I at the end of these couple of days, I laid in bed in Fontana Dam, just like recovering, and did a lot of crying when I got out of there. I was like, wow, I really survived this.
It's pretty scary. That sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, that sounds like you were right on the edge there.
That's tremendous.
It's as close as I've gotten to my edge of mortality.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking close.
Have you ever thought about like a inReach or?
Yeah, do you use any technology?
When I hiked I tried to hike the John Muir Trail. I had to quit halfway through because it was 2021. It was a bad year for fires, and the Sequoia fire was burning bad. And like I got 110 miles into this hike, and I was climbing 12,000 foot passes in an N95, and I couldn't breathe already with the oxygen, and now there's like smoke.
Damn, climbing it with an N95
with a mask on. And now I have pictures from my Pacific Crest Trail hike that I can compare to the same spot on that hike because I've been through there twice, and I had quarter-mile of visibility when I was trying to hike the John Muir Trail in these fires.
Wow,
it was crazy conditions.
That is.
But what did you ask me? Sorry. Something about the John Muir Trail.
Any technology.
GPS.
Oh, technology.
Yeah.
My dad, my dad told me that I should take an inReach with me, and so I had borrowed one from someone for the John Muir Trail. But that's the only time I've carried anything, because now I've got not to do it. I won't do a commercial for these guys, but I've got a phone that will apparently send SOS messages.
We've talked about that. Like the iPhones now have
the newer phones.
Yeah. Like it came in handy when we did Teton Crest Trail. I got the Garmin Messenger.
Yeah.
And you have to basically use your phone. I mean, you can message on it, but it's like,
well, you buy a subscription from Garmin, or
like you can buy
whatever.
a 1 month, like 40 messages.
Yeah.
and I had gotten altitude. I got altitude sickness, or what we presume was altitude sickness when we were there.
Sure seemed like it.
And so,
Were you like dizzy and disoriented?
and just throwing up constantly, could not stop throwing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. But I was messaging one of our friends back home. What are the symptoms for altitude sickness, and what do you do to cure it?
Yeah.
And it came in pretty handy. And
Go lower.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's all you could do.
and what we do? It didn't go lower.
Did not go lower.
Maybe like 400, 500 feet lower.
Yeah, Buddy Mustard threw it.
Yeah.
He kept going, dude. That next day,
You
was
can,
awesome.
as long as it's not gotten to your head.
Yeah.
You know,
It was
or
fun.
not gotten to your lungs.
Well,
If it's
and
just your head and it's not gotten to your
But then
lungs.
we have him eating sardines.
yeah, I made a mistake.
Right after I finished
You know
throwing
what?
up.
I brought one little can of sardines, and we were sitting on Death Canyon shelf, and I like sardines. And I was just going to bring that one little thing. That was my little savory treat.
Perfect.
And it just so happened to be right after Brad puked 5,000 times.
It was literally like 6 hours of me just straight throwing up.
Yeah, it was bad time. It was bad
And then
time.
I finally was like, fuck it. Like, we got to go. We got to make it to the next spot.
But Death
And-
Canyon Shelf was too good of a moment for me
Yeah.
to open up and have a gorgeous treat. I'm curious about GPS. Like what GPS system?
Yeah,
do
like
you
map,
use?
like map.
Oh, for the Thru-Hikes, the Far Out app is really great. I think it used to be, I think it's still $65 like for an entire Thru-Hike.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of waypoint comments. So like as you come to a water source, you'll see someone that went through there like a day or 2 or 3 or a week before you were there. And they're like, yep, this water source is still running.
that's
So that
cool.
you have a way to plan on whether there's going to be water in the next 20 miles or not.
Yeah.
It's really nice. So yeah, Far Out is a great source for that. Lots like you can buy just sections of the PCT or the AT or the CDT at a time, or you can buy the whole thing.
Nice.
It's a good resource.
I bet that saves a lot of time, like knowing what's available ahead.
Yeah.
You're not looking at every single spot to try and find something.
Yeah, you don't have to plan like I said, the Appalachian Trail, having never hiked before in my life. I think I spent 2 weeks to get out of my New York apartment, to get out of the lease and to get some gear and to just go out and do it. And I just got into the woods, and like otherwise you're on the Appalachian Trail, you're in town or you're hitchhiking to a town that's like 5 to 10 miles away almost every 3 to 5 days, except for the first 100 miles coming south.
That's when I was here. You're like 3 to 5 days from
Yeah, the
civilization.
PCT, there's a lot more planning involved, but it's also very accomplishable if you have time to get into towns. Like
Yeah.
I hitchhiked a lot on the PCT.
For some reason, like me, maybe it's just something about me. My first through hike, for some reason, I want to do the CDT. Like I want to go to the hardest one right off the bat and do that. And
I don't know if
See
it's
what
the hardest. It's statistically the easiest. I think for the hiking of it. It's the hardest maybe logistically.
like, yeah, because some of it goes through kind of unplanned, or some of it's not like fully vetted out yet.
It's just there might be it's just more wilderness. There might be more route finding and less of a easy
Infrastructure.
to follow path.
Yeah.
Like it might be less marked
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure because I really have not researched it much yet.
Me neither.
But
I've watched some YouTube video.
I can say the PCTs and the Appalachian Trail are both like you almost. I tried to hike the first 200 or 300 miles without an app off the Appalachian Trail, and it was easy to follow until inevitably you get off trail, and at that point. You should just like if you know you're off trail, like go backwards, just reversed course.
Don't try to.
And
cut.
if you have an ego, you end up just like disappearing into the woods somewhere. Like, fuck, I need to just download this goddamn app so I can see where I am.
You're shocked,
yeah.
dude.
Have you ever heard of Gaia?
Oh yeah.
What do you think? Have you used it?
I have not used it. I have used Caltopo,
Okay.
And Caltopo is a great way that I drew maps. I drew routes around fire detours for myself out west on the PCT. But yeah, I hear good things about Gaia. I haven't used it, but I do hear good things.
I've talked a lot of shit about Gaia.
Have you?
Brad's the
'Cause
number
when you
one hater
download-
for sure.
Like you'll download offline maps. Well, there's really two main.
Oh, we got him going.
Yep.
There we go.
Do we want to get into this?
We probably shouldn't. But yeah, man, I think that's a good way to end the show is have Brad bitching about
Yeah,
Gaia.
I'll tell you about Gaia off mic.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'll give you my gripes.
But yeah, Jonathan, thanks for coming in and sharing your stories and all that information with us about gear and what you got to have out there and what it takes. It's been a real pleasure to listen to you. Thanks for
been
coming.
So fun to talk to you guys.
Yeah. After all these years of not seeing you, brother, I'm happy to have you down in the studio,
Really fun.
hanging with you. I hope we get a couple more hours of hanging with you before you have to head out or whatever.
I'm chilling.
Yeah. This has been a good time, and I have learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners are going to learn a lot.
I hope.
Yeah,
Might
for
be.
sure.
I do have one more outgoing question.
Sure.
We are very much a podcast that's geared towards guys and gals that are just trying to get out there. We want you to get out there.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's our next guest coming up, who's the birder, or Brian, who's always on business trips, finding his way into local and state parks, or my son, who's 9 and just getting into backpacking. It's very much just however you can do it, go do it. Or if it's Ricky,
Hunters.
yeah, doing the hunting thing. So I guess my parting question is to you, what would you say to somebody that's our age that's looking to get out there in any sort of way? Like, what kind of advice would you give them? What kind of motivational kind of statement would you give that person?
There's no one size fits all answer here. So what I've done or what another person would want to do will be totally different for anyone that's listening to this or anyone that this could possibly reach. There's a different goal. It depends on what your mission is, and it depends on where you are in your life. But I think there is something for anyone to learn in going into nature and tuning out of this world that we've created for ourselves and leaving it behind, and to take a step into the unknown, to discover something about yourself, or to discover something about this life that we are living in this time. And I think whether that means going for a walk in a park and feeding the birds, or going out for a day hike and climbing a 500-foot hill or slope or whatever, or setting a goal and like knowing that if you live in New Hampshire and like, man, I'd love to climb Mount Washington one day, like from the bottom to the top, and like just go out and do it at some point. Work your way there. There's so much to gain from getting outside. And I mean, just from the physiological effects of being in the sun, what that does for your circadian rhythms, to being around a bunch of trees and plants that are creating oxygen for us to breathe, and that side of it, to putting your whole life in perspective. I think that we learned during COVID, when so many people were shut indoors, like how we crave to be outside, and how good it is. I would just say, whatever level you're prepared to get started at, go do it. Go for a hike, go for a walk, and bring sufficient water, or bring a good water filter. Don't get stuck in a dangerous situation, but get out there, because there's a lot of there's a lot of life to learn.
Probably a good way to end it.
Yeah.
That is
Just
wonderful.
saying that.
That is one thing we preach, is like, go out, even if you're day hiking, be safe, take stuff with you in case you get lost.
But lean into the discomfort.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Oh, yeah.
always in everything in life, everything I've always learned is
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. Lean into the discomfort because that is where you learn about what life can really be.
Get into it and be proud of yourself for getting out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just get out there. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, guys, you ready to get out of here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
John.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
man.
Thanks
It's
for having
great
me.
to have you.
Bless you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Jonathan. All right, we're signing off. Keep on sauntering.
Yep. See you later. Bye.
Bye.